Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mihaela. I am the founder of Parenting Made Conscious. And in today's video, I want to talk shortly about raising teenagers. Let's take a deep breath, everyone, all of us who have teenagers, and let's get into today's video. I want to talk about one big mistake that all of us parents of teenagers make probably 50 to 60 times a day, and that is criticizing. So our teenager interacts with us in micro moments of all kinds, from the moment they wake up until the moment they go to bed. And they either do something, or they want to show us something, or maybe we see something that they have done or didn't do, whatever the interaction is. And it usually happens in small micro moments, but our go-to reaction is to criticize or to give advice of some sort, which for the mind of a teenager is the equivalent of criticizing. So today I want us to talk about how can we move from being a criticizing mom or dad on a repeat, like a broken record. This could be better. You could do this differently. Be careful about that. How can we go from being that constant criticizing voice, or let's just say never pleased with what our teenage son or daughter is doing, with replacing us with the parent who is more oriented towards connection and listening and curiosity. So we're going from being on a repeat, on default mode, criticizing, to curious and connecting. So let's ask ourselves, what would it take for us to be able to constantly be in that curious state of mind, right? Number one, let's remember the time when we were a teenager. And I'm sure, just like me, you probably grew up in a previous generation, very different to our Gen Z or Alpha teenagers today. And in our generation, back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, we had a lot more freedom than our teenage kids have today. It may seem like they have a lot of freedom, but in reality, definitely in the US, they have very little freedom. They are constantly under surveillance, either under our surveillance at home, or through the shared location on their phones, or the family shared plan. Everything they do online, we can see. And they are under surveillance in school. And if they're not in school and they're not at home, where are they? They're in a organized sport or activity of some kind, where there is a coach or an adult in charge. So in a cycle of 24 hours, if we think about it, our teenage kids have zero freedom. So when they are not organically given an environment with a lot of freedom for autonomy, which is the number one psychological need and drive for a teenage brain, what would a teenager do? They would seek that freedom. So they would sabotage whatever advice or lecturing or critique we have, because they have to feel autonomous, synonymous with free. So in that search and quest for feeling autonomous and have freedom of their own decision making and thinking, of course, they're going to go against what you and I are saying. So we started with, what can we do instead? We start by remembering that when we grew up as teenagers, we had a lot more freedom that was built in organically in our everyday lives. And our teenage kids don't have that. So we have to become conscious and mindful and intentional of creating safe spaces for such freedom for our kids to be able to experiment and explore and take advantage of, so they can see us on their side and not against them. We're not opposing teams here. We're on the same side, but they can't perceive that of us if they do not have built in freedom and autonomy. Number two that we can do is we are not in their shoes. We come from a generation and from a certain type of education and beliefs about the world and understanding of the world from a time in which technology and online living was not so prevalent as it is in today's world. In this video, we're not debating which generation had it better or worse. I'm just saying that my brain and your brain works differently than the majority of our teenage children today. So because we recognize that, we take that in with a lot of curiosity instead of criticism. And the third element that I want to point out today is trust from our teenagers is built in micro moments. In other words, every time your teenager comes to you with an offer, with a bid for connection, by saying, hey, I found something, do you want to see it? Or, hey, I want to show you something, let me show you a video, let me show you this. Please understand that that's a bid for connection. It may not seem interesting to you or something that's in your area of interest for many, many reasons, I bet. But please take that opportunity and say, oh, wow, yeah, show me. I want to see it. Because as we respond positively to those invitations into their worlds on their terms for those bids of connection, those micro moments are going to build up enough trust for them to come to us with bigger issues down the road. So, in summary, teenagers are amazing. They're very curious. They're very intelligent. They are so exploratory. They're innovative. They have such big imagination. We have a lot to learn from them. And please, 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 let's all work intentionally in creating the right environment for our teenagers to thrive. Thank you. See you in the next one.